The twin suns of Kepler-7 beat down mercilessly on the abandoned mining planet's surface. Dex wiped sweat from his brow as he searched through the ruins of an old extraction facility. The human scavenger had been working alone on this forgotten world for 3 years, collecting valuable metals and ancient technology left behind by the mining corporations. His scanner beeped frantically as he approached a massive crater that hadn't been there yesterday. Smoke still rose from the center, where twisted metal gleamed under the harsh sunlight. A ship, but not human design. The sleek curves and crystalline panels were unlike anything in human databases. Dex checked his oxygen mask and climbed down into the crater. The ship was smaller than most vessels he'd seen, designed for maybe 2 passengers. Part of the hull had been torn away, revealing an interior that pulsed with soft blue light. Inside, he found her. The alien was unconscious, her breathing shallow and labored. Her skin had a pale violet hue that seemed to shimmer in the ship's dying light systems. She was humanoid, but clearly different, taller than most humans. With elongated fingers and features that seemed almost ethereal, silver hair fell across her face like liquid metal. Blood, darker than human blood, seeped from a gash on her forehead. Dex had seen plenty of injured people during his time as a military medic before becoming a scavenger. This being, whatever species she belonged to, was dying. Well, hell, he muttered, making a decision that would change everything. Dex carefully lifted the alien from the wreckage. She was lighter than expected, her body having a delicate quality that spoke of a world with different gravity. Her clothes were made of materials that felt like silk, but seemed to regulate temperature automatically as he carried her toward his underground shelter. Our eyes fluttered open for just a moment. They were the color of deep space, dark blue, with flecks of silver that seemed to move like distant stars. She looked at him with confusion and fear before losing consciousness again. The journey back to his base took an hour, across the rocky terrain. Dex's shelter was built into a natural cave system he'd expanded over the years. It had everything needed for survival: water recycling, food storage, medical supplies, and most importantly, protection from the planet's violent dust storms. He placed her on his medical table and began assessing her injuries. Besides the head wound, she had what appeared to be burns along her arms and several broken ribs. Her physiology was similar enough to human that his medical training applied, but different enough to make treatment challenging. As Dex worked to stabilize her condition, he wondered what had brought her to this desolate world. Her ship's design suggested advanced technology, far beyond current human capabilities. Was she an explorer? A refugee? Or something more dangerous? The alien stirred as he finished bandaging her wounds. Her eyes opened again, focusing on his face with startling intensity. She tried to speak, but the words came out in a musical language he didn't recognize. When she realized he couldn't understand, tears formed in those star-filled eyes. Dex placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. "Hey, it's okay. You're safe now. I'm Dex." She seemed to understand his tone, if not his words. Her hand moved to cover his, and for a moment, he felt something impossible, a warmth that seemed to flow directly into his mind, carrying with it a sense of gratitude and trust that took his breath away. Healing touch 3. Days passed before she could sit up without assistance. During that time, Dex learned that his patient was far more fascinating than he'd initially realized. She seemed to understand human emotions and intentions without speaking the language, responding to his moods and gestures with an intuition that felt almost supernatural. "Nira," she said on the 4th morning, pointing to herself as Dex brought her water. Her voice had a melodic quality that made his name sound like music when she repeated Dex back to him. Communication improved rapidly after that breakthrough, using gestures, drawings, and what Dex suspected was some form of telepathic ability. Nira began sharing fragments of her story. She was from a world called Serenity Prime. It's part of an alien confederation he'd never heard of. The physical closeness required for her care had created an unexpected intimacy between them. When changing her bandages, Dex found himself acutely aware of the smoothness of her skin and the way she watched his face with those incredible eyes. There was something growing between them that transcended species barriers. One evening, As violent winds howled outside their shelter, Nira grew restless and afraid. The storms on her homeworld were apparently gentle rains compared to Kepler-7's fury. Dex sat beside her on the medical cot, intending only to offer comfort. "The storms will pass," he said softly. "They always do." Nira moved closer, her head coming to rest against his shoulder. The contact sent warmth spreading through his chest, and he realized she was somehow sharing her emotions with him, fear of the storm, but also growing trust, and something deeper that made his heart race. "Your people," she said in halting. Human words she'd been learning? They're good like you? Dex considered the question seriously. "Some are others. Not so much. Humans can be complicated." She looked up at him, her face inches from his. "You are not complicated. You are kind." The moment stretched between them, charged with possibility. Dex found himself leaning closer, drawn by forces he didn't fully understand. Her lips were softer than anything he'd ever experienced, and when they kissed, the sensation was unlike anything in his previous relationships. Through their connection, he felt her surprise and joy, emotions so pure they brought tears to his eyes. When they finally separated, both were breathing heavily. "Is this normal for your species?" Nira asked, her cheeks showing a deeper violet hue that he realized was probably blushing. Dex laughed softly. "I don't think anything about this situation is normal," as her strength returned over the following days. Nira began helping around the shelter. Her people's technology was biological in nature, and she had an intuitive understanding of living systems that amazed him. She improved his water recycling efficiency and somehow made his food stores last longer through techniques he couldn't begin to understand. But it was during the quiet moments that their relationship deepened. They would sit together watching the alien constellations through his shelter's viewport. Her hand in his as she shared memories of her homeworld through their strange connection. He saw crystal cities that grew like coral, forests that sang in harmony, and beings who lived in perfect balance with their environment. "Why did you leave?" he asked one night. Her expression grew sad, and through their link, he felt echoes of fear and betrayal. "My people. Some of them want war. They want to use gifts like mine as weapons." Dex understood then that her telepathic abilities were the reason she'd fled. But their peaceful interlude was about to end. His long-range scanners had detected ships entering the system, and from their approach pattern, they weren't human vessels. The alien ships arrived at dawn, their crystalline hulls catching the first light of Kepler-7's twin suns. Dex's scanners showed 3 vessels in high orbit, too far to identify specific intentions, but close enough to begin planetary scans. Nira's face went pale when she saw the readings. "Hunters," she whispered, the word carrying terror through their mental link. "They found me." Dex quickly began packing essential supplies while Nira explained their situation. Her telepathic abilities weren't just unusual among her people, they were legendary. The ruling council of Serenity Prime wanted to weaponize her gift, using her to read enemy thoughts and break their will during conflicts. "I cannot be what they want," she said.
Helping him load their packs.
"To use my gift for violence would destroy who I am. Then we run," Dex said simply. "I know this planet better than anyone. There are places they'll never find us. They abandoned." The shelter through a hidden exit that led into the ancient cave systems beneath the mining facility. Dex had spent years mapping these tunnels, finding passages that connected to ruins left by the planet's original inhabitants. The caves would hide their heat signatures and provide multiple escape routes. 3 hours into their journey, Nira suddenly stopped, her eyes unfocused as she used her abilities to scan for pursuers. 6 of them have landed. They move fast, but they don't know the terrain, good Dex said, taking her hand as they navigated a particularly treacherous passage. "That gives us an advantage." They reached a vast underground chamber that housed the remains of an ancient temple. Massive stone pillars supported a ceiling that disappeared into darkness above. Bioluminescent fungi provided eerie blue light that seemed to make Nira's skin glow. "This place," she said in wonder. "It feels ... familiar, like the old temples on my world," as they set up camp in a hidden alcove. The stress of their situation finally broke down the barriers they'd maintained. Nira collapsed against him, exhaustion and fear overwhelming her usual composure. "I'm so tired of running," she whispered against his chest. "I've been alone for so long." Dex held her tightly, feeling her vulnerability through their connection. "You're not alone anymore." When she looked up at him, tears glittering in those star-filled eyes, the last of his restraint crumbled. Their kiss was desperate and passionate, filled with the urgency of people who might not have tomorrow. Her hands explored his face, his shoulders, mapping him through touch as much as sight. "I need to tell you something," she said breathlessly as they broke apart. "My people, we bond differently than humans. When we connect deeply with someone, it's permanent. Forever." "What are you saying?" Dex asked, though part of him already understood. "I'm saying that if we go further, if we truly join, you'll be part of me for the rest of our lives. You'll feel what I feel, know what I know. Is that something you want?" Looking into her eyes, feeling the love and longing flowing between them, Dex realized he'd never wanted anything more. "Yes," he said. "Whatever happens, I want to face it with you." Their union was unlike anything either had experienced. As their bodies joined, so did their minds and souls. Dex felt her memories flowing into him, the beauty of her homeworld, the pain of exile, the joy of finding love in the most unexpected place. In return, she experienced his past, his loneliness on this desolate world, his military service, his dreams of finding something worth fighting for. When it was over, they lay entwined in the soft light of the fungi, forever changed. Dex could feel Nira's presence in his mind like a constant, comforting warmth. She was part of him now, and he was part of her. "No matter what happens," she whispered, "they can never take this away from us." But their moment of peace was shattered by the sound of energy. Weapons echoing through the caves. The hunters had found their trail. United we stand. The energy blasts grew closer as Dex and Nira fled deeper into the cave system. Through their bond, Dex could feel her using her abilities to mask their presence, but the effort was draining her rapidly. They needed help, and fortunately, he knew where to find it. "There's a human settlement about 10 kilometers from here," he explained as they navigated a narrow passage. "Hidden base. Some of them are ex-military like me, the underground." This facility had been built by refugees from the corporate war's humans, who had fled when the mining companies started using forced labor. Over the years, it had grown into a small but well-defended community. When Dex and Nira finally reached the concealed entrance, they were met by armed guards who recognized him immediately. Dex called out Commander Torres, a grizzled woman who'd been leading the settlement since its founding. "What the hell are you doing here? And who's your friend?" "Long story, Commander. We need sanctuary. There are hostiles tracking us." Torres took one look at Nira and made the decision every good officer learns to make quickly. "Get inside. We'll sort this out once you're safe." The human base was more sophisticated than Dex had expected. Hidden generators powered air recyclers and communication equipment. Living quarters had been carved from the rock itself, and the main command center buzzed with activity as residents went about their daily routines. Nira was fascinated by the cooperation she witnessed. Through their bond, Dex felt her amazement at how humans worked together despite their differences in opinion and background. Her people's telepathic nature meant disagreement was rare. Everyone could feel each other's emotions and find compromise naturally. Humans, she realized, chose to cooperate despite their independence, which made their unity even more remarkable. "Your species," she told him as they were shown to quarters. "You are stronger than you know." Commander Torres assembled her senior staff to hear their story. When Nira demonstrated her abilities by sharing a memory directly with the room, the implications became clear to everyone present. "The aliens hunting her," Torres said. "Studying tactical displays, they're not just after one person. They're after a weapon that could end human independence in this sector." Dr. Sarah Kim, the base's chief scientist, had been analyzing recordings of the hunter ships. "Their technology is centuries ahead of ours, but their numbers are limited. If we can level the playing field somehow, ... We can, Nira said firmly. I can teach your telepaths to shield their thoughts, and I can read their tactical plans. But I need something in return. Name it, Torres replied. Promise me you'll help me stop this war before it starts. My people don't understand humans. They see your expansion and think you're conquerors like the species they fought in the past. If they could meet you, really know you, they might choose peace instead. The next few days were a whirlwind of preparation. Nira worked with the base's few natural telepaths, teaching them techniques her people had developed over millennia. In return, Dex and the other soldiers taught her squad tactics and human military strategy. During the quiet moments between training sessions, their relationship continued to deepen. Other couples at the base noticed how they moved in perfect synchronization, how they could communicate with just a glance. Their bond had created something beautiful that transcended species barriers. I never thought I'd fall in love, Dex admitted one evening as they watched the sunset through a hidden observation port. Love. Nira repeated the word in her musical voice. Your language has many words for what we feel. In mine, there is only one, Kethera. It means soul joined. Kethera, Dex said, liking the sound of it. That's what we are. Their peaceful moment was interrupted by urgent alarms. The hunter ships had found the base. Love across the stars. The battle for the human settlement began at midnight when the first hunter strike team breached the outer defenses. Unlike their ship-to-ship weapons, the aliens' ground assault relied on energy weapons that could stun rather than kill. They wanted Nira alive and unharmed. Dex fought alongside Commander Torres' people, using guerrilla tactics in the narrow tunnels that favored the defending humans. But the hunters were relentless, pushing deeper into the base despite heavy casualties. Through their bond, Dex felt Nira's anguish as she watched beings she'd grown up with fall to human weapons. There has to be another way, she said desperately, as they regrouped in the command center. There is, Dex replied, an idea forming. You said your people fear humans because they don't understand us. What if we changed that? Nira's eyes widened as she grasped his meaning. The bonding process. If I could share our connection with others, would it work? Torres asked, overhearing their exchange. I don't know, Nira admitted. It's never been attempted with non-telepathic species. But if it does work, your people and mine could truly understand each other. The plan was desperate but brilliant. While the human defenders continued their fighting withdrawal, Nira reached out with her abilities. Not to the hunters, but to their commanding officers still aboard the orbiting ships. Instead of hiding her presence, she broadcast it openly, along with a proposal for direct communication. The response came within minutes. A single shuttle descended to the settlement's landing area, carrying the hunt leader and 2 guards. Commander Torres met them under a flag of truce. With Dex and Nira at her side, the hunt leader was tall, even by Nira's people's standards, with ceremonial scars marking his face and armor that seemed to be grown rather than manufactured. When he saw Nira, his expression softened with what might have been relief. Nira of the 7th Harmony, he said in their musical language, you have caused great concern among the council and great pain among innocent humans. Kellis, she replied, using his childhood name deliberately. Dex felt recognition and old friendship through their bond. She'd known this hunter since they were children, these humans, Kellis said, his gaze moving to Dex and Torres. The council believes they are a threat to galactic peace. Then let me show you the truth, Nira said simply. What followed was the most difficult telepathic joining Nira had ever attempted. She opened her mind not just to Keela's, but to every member of his hunting party, sharing not her own memories, but Dex's. They experienced his loneliness and determination on Kepler 7. His decision to save an injured alien despite the risk, his growth from isolated scavenger to someone willing to fight for others, through the bond she shared with Dex. The hunters also experienced the community at the human base. They felt Commander Torres' protective instincts toward her people, Dr. Kim's scientific curiosity, and the way humans chose to work together despite their differences. When the connection ended, Kellis staggered backward, his guards reaching out to steady him. Tears streamed down his face as he looked at Dex with new understanding. "Your species," he said in halting human words. "You choose unity over discord. You save strangers. You love beyond yourselves." The formal peace negotiations took 3 days. Representatives from both the human settlements and the alien confederation met in the ancient temple where Dex and Nira had first truly joined. The discussions were difficult, with centuries of mistrust to overcome. But the foundation Nira had created through forced understanding made compromise possible. In the end, they established a joint colony on Kepler-7. Humans would provide practical engineering and military expertise, while Nira's people would share their biological technologies and telepathic abilities. Most importantly, volunteers from both species would undergo the bonding process, creating permanent ambassadors who could bridge the gap between their peoples. Dex and Nira became the first official human-alien bonded pair, their love story inspiring others to look beyond species barriers. As they stood together watching the joint colony's construction, Nira resting her head against his shoulder while their minds shared quiet contentment, they realized they'd found something neither species had expected. "We're not just building a colony," Dex said, "watching human and alien workers collaborate on the new structures." "No," Nira agreed, her hand finding his. "We're building a future where love conquers fear." The twin suns of Kepler-7 set behind them, painting the sky in brilliant oranges and purples. In the distance, ships from both species worked together, their combined technologies creating wonders neither could achieve alone. And in the growing twilight, two souls who'd found each other across the vast darkness of space looked forward to whatever tomorrow might bring. Their love had not only saved them, it had saved 2 entire civilizations from a war that would have destroyed them both. Sometimes the most powerful weapon in the universe isn't technology or force, but the simple courage to open one's heart to another.